So I'm joined by Craig Mitchell, who's one of the international umpires for the America's Cup out in New Zealand. Hi, Craig. How's everything out there with you just now?
Yeah, hi Neil. Very good actually. We're just looking forward to racing at the weekend. Pride Cup final start on Saturday, so we're just in full preparation mode, doing some planning and doing some review of what's happened so far, and just getting everything ready really.
Great. So you're one of a team of umpires. Who else have you got in the team?
Yeah, so there's 5 of us in the team in total. Richard Slater, he's the chief umpire. He's from Australia. Sophia Truhanowicz from Poland. Brad Dellenbauer from the US, and Miguel Allen from Portugal. So that's the team of 5, and that also makes up the international jury.
Great. So how do you kind of go about splitting up the roles between yourselves?
So we have this electronic booth system, and there's 3 people go into the booth on a race day, and 2 people go onto the water. So in the booth we have Richard Slater. He as the chief. He's there to sort of manage the whole process. He's been there to help to develop the software to make sure that it gives us what we need. So he's the kind of the cornerstone of the kind of the system, and he manages the communications, and also discusses with the broadcast team if there's anything to sort of if any penalties been given, then he'll kind of go in there and explain them. He's also running the communications to the guys on the water, giving overlap statuses, at the zones and at boundaries, just making sure that the guys on the water know exactly kind of, the facts that we've got in the booth. He's also there to support the 2 guys in the booth. So we got Miguel Allen, who's exclusively in the booth as one of the umpires, and also between myself and Brad Dellenbauer, we've been switching between the water and the booth. So that's the 3 in the booth, and we'll have 2 of the guys, so it'll be Miguel and either myself or Brad will sort of sit as the match umpires, as it were, the blue umpire, the yellow umpire, and then also work with Richard to kind of get the information flowing between the 3 of us, to make sure that we can get all the facts in from the system and also get the input in from on the water, so we can sort of make decisions as we go. The guys in the booth are also listening to the broadcast audio from each of the boats, and that's really helpful. I mean, you sit there listening to it, and it's absolute gold.
What are the umpires out in the water actually doing?
So the umpires out in the water are really kind of adding colour to it, adding a dose of reality, because you can get a bit desensitized in the booth because you're looking at a 2D image. I mean, you've also got the broadcast screen, so you're seeing the broadcast feed, you're seeing the feed from each of the boats, you're seeing the helicopter, you're seeing the chase boat. So you've got a lot of information coming in, but you don't see on the system when the boards are going up and down, and on the heel angles, and there's the little bits on the water that you really kind of that you need to sort of pass that information back, so that you've it's more facts to add to things that are happening.
And are the umpires in the water, are they in 2 separate ribs? I mean, like an umpire and a wing umpire like you might have in traditional match racing, or are they together in the same boat?
Yeah, so we've got 2 powerboats out on the water, and so the 10-meter protector ribs, and they're capable of doing 47 knots. And so we've got an umpire in each, and then we've also got a spotter. And so with the way we set that up is that then we have a primary and a secondary, and the primary is kind of what you would generally class as the main umpire, and so they'd be coming in with the starboard boat in the pre-start, and then the secondary would be taking up that wing position.
So I suppose with a top speed of 47 knots, sometimes that's just not quick enough.
Yeah, so you've got to drive smart as well as fast. We can obviously do a VMG of 47 knots, and so sometimes you're cutting the corners in order to catch up, and to get yourself into position. So it's also a matter of being clever, cutting corners.
So obviously it's it's match racing, so there's going to be incidents. That's why you're there. So when an incident happens and one boat decides, we want to put the Yankee flag up and we want to protest this boat, how does the process work?
It's quite a simple process. They've got all this electronic system, and which is actually, well, unfortunately, done away with the old Yankee flag, because I don't think it'd last very long at 45 knots. You'd see quite a few of them flying out the backs of the boats.
So when we're watching it on the TV, obviously we'll hear Richard coming on the radio and telling the team that either there's no penalty or somebody has got a penalty. And then when that penalty's clear, so how does the penalty work? They have to slow down by so much, or? Yeah,
so there's the main penalty for sort of boat to boat in all pre-start penalties, and then boat to boat penalties mean that you've got to go behind the other boat by 50 meters, and then boundary penalties, you've got to lose 50 meters compared to the other boat.
So what kind of would a typical race day look like for the umpire team?
So it can be a long day at times. There's usually a 9 o'clock weather briefing and a discussion about course areas and that stuff, by the race management team. So somebody will go to that to make sure that we're fully informed. And then we'll start looking at making sure that we've answered all the questions from teams. So we have a Q&A service essentially, and also we publish calls. If there's any rule changes or proposals for rule changes, then Richard will normally start that process, and then we'll start on the drafting process, and then go through any rule changes and then publish all that stuff, and then we'll go into reviewing past races. So over the past week.
So you talked about event calls there earlier on. So you recently put out a call talking about manoeuvring promptly in a seaman-like way. I guess is that kind of in response to some of the hard luffs we've seen in some of the previous races, causing boats to come off the foils?
Yeah, there is. We got a Q&A came in from one of the teams, and so we kind of looked at it and thought, well, how's it best to answer this? To say what you can and can't do, and certainly it was a call that was used in Bermuda as well. And so we looked at it and tweaked it and reworded it to make sure that it fits with these boats.
So Craig, we've talked a bit about the UmpBot system that the team use out there, and now you're going to give us a little bit of a sneak peek of it.
So this is the UmpBot, which is the system that we're using to be able to see everything that's going on. And so this is one of the races set up. That was the round robin 3, Italy versus GBR. And so this is the main screen that we're seeing. We'll set up here. I'll just zoom out a little bit. So this is the boundary of the course. And so we'll just go through in the pre-start. This is a pre-start about to start. All the marks are then on the system, so you'll see here the start line marks. They've got the 3-length zone, and then around the marks there's a mark border. And that's an extra little bit of space because the marks are all laid and sitting on an anchor. The marks are quite heavy, and so they put a little mark board around it for some extra protection. In terms of the data that we're getting in, on down this side is all the information that we can toggle on and off. So we've got the boat data, which is the speed. And then also we've got the other data as well, which is the heading of the boat, true wind speed coming off that boat, and also the true direction coming off that boat. So these are the numbers that the teams are seeing, and we're getting all that data. We also get the data coming in from all the marks. So if we want to know what the wind's doing at the windward mark as they come off the start line, then we can see that, and that's all listed for us. So we generally sit with we toggle that data on and off as we go through the race, depending on how close the boats are, and then we have another little nice little touch, which is what we call the ghost boats. So the ghost boat sits there at 4 seconds ahead. That's predicting where the boat's going to be in 4 seconds time. And then we also have the transom lines to help us with overlaps, just to sort of really make sure that we can see exactly when boats are getting overlapped. We've then got the events, which is the inbox on this list here. So when someone presses the protest button, then this is where everything appears, and so we're in post-race mode here. So when we're live, this will tell us, no penalty, penalise Italy, penalise GBR, and so we can answer each of those white flags from there. We go into sort of race mode, as it were, and it's a standard match racing setup. So you've got to be outside your assigned end for the port entry boat. You've got to be there at outside the end at 2 minutes 10, and then the starboard entry boat is allowed in and across the line at 2 minutes. And so between the two, umpires will be both take a boat each, and we'll be kind of watching, we'll be listening on the audio to kind of see what's happening, and what's going to happen, what we think is going to happen next. So as you see here, Italian boats sweeping round, and they're going to be coming bow to bow quite soon. So we'll be looking at the ghost boats, seeing if they're on a collision course, and so we can work out, is the giveaway boat doing anything? Does the giveaway boat have to do anything? And then if there's a Yankee flag comes up, it comes up in the left-hand side there. So we're watching the boats there as they're kind of jousting in towards the start, and we'll zoom in nice and close so that we can see what's going on. So you'll see here that the leeward boat here is going to get into the zone overlap there. They've got no requirement to go around the mark. So so we're looking at the windward boat there, seeing if the windward boat did actually keep clear. And they hadn't actually made it into the boundary zone yet, and so we decided that the windward boat here didn't keep clear, that the leeward boat had to alter course to avoid contact, and so we put a penalty onto the windward boat there. So you'll see in a second that the penalty line will come out. So you see there that the penalty line has come out, and actually that the penalty has been cleared. And so the leeward boat here, which is the New Zealand boat, as they came around and turned into that jibe, the penalty then was essentially taken pretty quickly.
One of the more controversial calls, we call it, has been around what some people are calling that cross in the was it the last race we had between Luna Rossa and Team Ineos GBR. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Yeah.
How you came to the conclusion you did?
Well, we kind of look at the setup, and you've got to remember that if you look at the size of the course, then the pre-start area, between the bottom boundary and the start line, that's about 700 meters. So that area there itself is the size of a J80 match racing course. The width of the box there, with the pre-start included, is about 1,500 meters wide. The course it's essentially from the bottom gate to the top gate, it's 5 minutes up, and then from the top gate down to the leeward gate, it's about 4 minutes back. So really, you're talking in similar time terms as a as any standard match racing event, really. But it's just the distances that are being covered, are huge because they're going at such speeds. But we can see in these situations that the boats are, they're lining up. You can see that what's going to happen here. So you've got plenty of warning. So you see there's a port starboard incident coming up, and you start looking at the information that you've got. You're getting information coming from the water. You're getting information coming from the boats themselves. So you'll hear, you'll hear on board, yeah, I think we're crossing, or this is going to be close. So, and you're seeing on the system that it's close. And then as you get in really to the nub of it, when the ghost boats start getting together, that's 4 seconds out. Is there a cross at that point or not? And in this case, there was a cross at that point. So we're thinking, well, the port boat here is crossing. They are going to be keeping clear. And then you start to see if there's any changes of course. And as you then get the changes of course, you go, well, are they still crossing? Should the port boat be looking at jibing? Is the port boat's option to carry on? And so all those questions start coming up. And in this particular situation, we said, well, the starboard boat's altering course. They're going down. We're thinking that the other boat is the port boat's going across. And so we were comfortable that in that situation, the port boat kept clear. The starboard boat in that situation did alter course, so it's got to give room for the port boat to keep clear. And we felt that anyway they were going to be clear across. Not everybody agreed with the decision, but we think that we got that one right.
Obviously, you got lots of information coming into you, lots of data, and that's relying on some pretty accurate sensors out there, whether that be on the boats or in the marks or all around the course. Do you think this is something we're going to eventually see trickle down to the rest of the sport, or is this one of these things that's going to just stay up at that high level?
Well, I certainly hope it's all going to trickle down. I mean, the GPS unit in your telephone is getting more and more accurate. And at a certain point, I think bringing your own GPS tracker is just going to be part of your equipment, like bringing your compass, or having any other electronics on the boat. And as long as that your class is mandating exactly where you put the tracker. And you've got the boat, mapped into the software, then I think that's something that's going to be really useful going forwards.
How much is this what you're doing relate to what you might have started off doing when you started umpiring back in doing Booza team racing or some of the RYA match racing circuit?
Agreeing between you what the facts are. Because essentially that's and getting information from wing boats, and so really it's the same. I mean the boats are doing between 35 and 45, 50, above 50 knots, but you're seeing that stuff develop in a pretty similar time as that you would be at a sort of a weekend match race. But everything sort of when everything's going on fast, your brain just has to really sort of speed up. But it's also the anticipation, knowing what's coming next. So then where you're going to put your boat. You know where you're looking. What key piece of information you need. So it's all it's all very much the same. But your weekend match race, you probably got a little bit less information overload really. And often you're trying to scramble to find the facts.
Mm-hmm. And if any kind of budding umpires are sitting watching that thinking, how do I get to get that yellow polo shirt? What's the kind of route in that you followed? How did you get to being where you are now?
Well, I started in doing a weekend umpiring, really. Got into doing match racing, doing some team racing, and then became an international umpire. Went to seminar, passed the test, did all the on the water assessment stuff. A lot of it's also how you get on with people in a team. because really that's the absolutely amazing thing about this event, is that we're a group of umpires that get on really, really well, and we really are acting as a team, and aim for the stars, really.
Well, Craig, thank you very much for what's really been a fascinating insight into what it's like to be an umpire at the Cup, and for giving us that sneak preview of the software that you're using. So thanks very much.
Yeah, no problem. It's been great to talk to you, Neil, and I'm looking forward to this weekend and then going on into the Cup match.
Yeah, best of luck for that. I'll certainly be looking forward to watching it on the telly.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Cheers.